Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to a very special episode of Altitude Adjustment because I will be joined by not one, not two, but three very good looking, very suave, very intelligent human beings who are going to tackle the question of who deserves more credit for the Broncos' success, George Paton or Sean Payton. Up first from CBS4, Justin Adams. You know him, you love him. Thank you so much for joining. Next from Denver 7, Nick Rothschild up in the building. And finally, some dude named Mike. This is Altitude Adjustment.
Hey, Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up.
First and foremost, thank you to Justin and Nick for stooping down to the level of internet show. We all know that Sean Payton is a really big fan of these things.
Gosh, your own little internet shows are driving me crazy.
And taking a step down from their TV gigs to slum it with the peasants such as Mike and myself. Justin, man, we'll start with you. Why don't you plug whatever you want to plug, just in case people have been living under a rock and don't recognize you and the sound of your voice.
Yes. So, first of all, Mario, man, we've been at this for a while. The last time we did a show was over a decade ago on Mile High Sports Radio. And so shout out to my man, Andre Davis, by the way, too. We did the show together then. But, work at CBS Colorado, do everything, whether it's morning reporting, news, sports, whatever. Also do some work with Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan and Sirius XM. Play-by-play broadcaster as well. Look, I'm just going to be honest with you. You see this beautiful woman right there I'm kissing? I'm just trying to make sure she's still smiling and she don't leave me. That's why I do like 20 jobs. So, no, it's a joy to be able to do so. So if you want to follow me at Justin Adams TV. Again, Justin Adams TV.
Justin, as long as she has functioning eyeballs, I think she's going to stay with you a really long time.
Right.
Nick Rothschild. Nick, where can we see and hear your incredible voice and your handsome face?
Nowhere. You don't need to follow me. You don't need to watch my stuff. Don't look at me. No, I'm just playing.
I can't take my eyes off of you.
No, I work at Denver 7, as you mentioned. I only do sports, though, so, Justin, you got me by about 3 different professions there. Whatever. Search my name on Instagram, Twitter, or on the internet, and you'll find my work. Hopefully, this will be a pretty good representation of why you don't want to do that, though, because I can be a little bit of a handful.
Well, this is exactly the show to be a handful. In fact, if you make it through the whole show with me, then I think you might be in consideration for a daytime Emmy. And finally, some guy named Mike.
Yeah,
What's Mike?
First off, Mario, it's a pleasure to be on the second best YouTube show, on the planet, and I do appreciate, what you're doing, being an up and coming, rising star. I just think it's great for you, and I think it's great for you to have us here. It's good for your career. And you can find me
fantastic for my career.
Mile High Monsters, of course. I hop on almost every day. Regular schedules, 4:30 on Wednesdays with David Talks Broncos. He's fantastic. And every Saturday with Colin Cronin, all the way from Dublin, on the Dublin to Denver podcast. So during the season, I'm on Let's Talk Broncos every weekend after the game for the post game. So yeah, big stuff coming up. By the way, Mic'd Up season 2. Romy Bean, Mario, Troy Rank, D-Mac, RK, Brandon Perna, Ryan Edwards. Everybody's coming on. So we'll see you all on there on the channel. So head over and check me out, Mile High Monster.
Help me out.
Super awkward that you plugged that.
Mike,
go ahead. I was just going to say.
Didn't say my name, but Mario, when did the hot wings come out? When do we start eating that? Do you send me hot wings?
Really soon.
The YouTube show that does hot wings, right?
Yeah, this was a hot wing thing.
This
right?
show is called Hottest Ones, actually, because that's what we are.
Okay.
So there's a difference. Okay.
Yeah, Mike, super weird that you would plug that show and say you have everybody, but 2 of the 4 people on your screen right now have not
never met them.
given an invite to to this illustrious
Yeah, but
show.
see what happens is I meet them, and great to meet you guys. It's an absolute
Justin
pleasure.
and Nick, this is actually a tryout for Mike's
And yeah,
show.
it's a tryout.
Oh,
and
good,
if they,
good.
if they suck, then I don't invite them on. So, one of you
Yeah,
followed
sorry, I'm
me.
busy that day. My
Well,
bad.
one of you followed me on Twitter already, so automatically on the show. One of you didn't, and so those decisions will be made.
Small things in life. That's all.
It's so
Justin followed
diplomatic.
me, Nick didn't. I mean, it's simple math.
I did.
All right,
I also have a 19-month-old, so I don't know what Twitter is or where I'm on social media most of the time.
You're
Usually it's my
on.
kid.
You're on there. You're on there.
Dude, let me tell you,
Yeah,
you have a
you're-
19.
It's one button. You pushed one button. I mean, and then change a diaper. It's not that hard. I mean,
You do both at the same time.
Here's
really
the issue. You might drop your phone while you're changing that diaper. Trust me, I just got done with diapers. I have a 6-year-old.
Oh,
Brother,
Look,
I've dropped the phone while changing a diaper. You don't want to do that.
that's what I'll talk about, baby. That's it right there, man. Just wait till you get 2. It gets better.
Oh,
That two is a lot. Two is
Yes.
a lot, and especially if
Right.
they're close.
did you change your glasses?
Justin and I
How many
have
times
kids.
is this going to happen tonight?
4 times.
Listen, this is a
Over
one-time
under spread
change.
4.
Okay. I didn't want to cut anybody off, but I was starting to say that this is me transitioning to a serious journalist mode as we talk about this very.
Serious journalist. Are we broadcasting from your kitchen? You got pots and pans back there.
Mutually
Yeah, I
exclusive.
mean, just in case you guys get hungry later on in the show, we got a nice little kitchen set up down here, a little kitchenette. I think the kids are
I
calling
literally
it.
just
And
teed you up to say
yeah.
that you're going to be cooking with your
That's
takes.
With his hot takes.
God.
I wish that I could say that, but it's probably not going to happen. Yeah, I hope that everybody watching really lowers their expectations for what they're going to get out of me tonight. But you can raise your expectations right now because we are going to start off with Justin. Justin, who deserves more credit for the Broncos' ascension to inarguably the best team in the AFC? George Paton or Sean Payton? Which Payton are you giving it to?
It's interesting because you have some pans and everything in the back. So let me use this analogy real quick. Before I married my wife, I had an ex. And my favorite food is meatloaf. Like, if you could make me some good meatloaf, you have my heart. So, I got my ex all the ingredients and everything. And, she put the meatloaf together, but it was missing something. It was missing some, spices. It was okay, but it just wasn't good. But on the other hand, when I met my wife, I hooked her up with all those, same ingredients and everything. She put that thing together. And let me tell you, I gained like 25, 30 pounds being with her, okay? Just because that meatloaf is so good. So with that being said, George Paton can get you all the ingredients, but it's about the head coach that makes the ingredients go and puts it all together. Sean Payton is the main reason why this team is where they are right now. Don't forget, as a general manager, what you do is your job is to get the head coach, said players, to make things work. Well, at first, you look at where the Broncos were without Sean Payton. And George Paton made that trade to get Russell Wilson, and you thought everything was working good. And you had your old head coach. We're not going to mention his name because we don't want to go back to despair. But the reality is the team was terrible. The first year that Sean Payton came in, even with the team that got blown out and gave up 70 points, they still had a shot in December at home, going up against New England, with the chance to be able to go and win the division. We forget about that. But in year number 1, they had an opportunity to be able to win the division over Kansas City that year. Obviously wasn't able to go and get the job done. Next year, you get to the playoffs, and then we saw what happened this past year. So it's really all about what Sean Payton was able to do to put his thumbprint on this team, and that's the main reason why the Broncos are where they are today. Yeah, George Paton gets the credit for getting the groceries. I get that, man. Groceries are important. But trust me, there's a reason why there's some good chefs in the building. And there's a reason why my wife is where she is today, is because you got to find those people who are able to put that together, to set the stage, to set the culture and everything that you want as a franchise. And I'll say this, talking with people inside that facility, they said that the first year was very interesting, to say the least, with that other head coach.
How to expand on that, Justin?
It was you have kids. We all have kids. It was what happens in a diaper. Okay, it was that. That's exactly what it was. All right. It was. I mean, just frankly. I mean, and we saw it on the field too, which is the reason why you don't finish out your season. Right. You don't finish out your first year. So when Sean Payton came in the building, you're paying premium dollars for him to be able to set the culture, set the stage, and also get this team back on top. And the Broncos were the number 1 seed last year. And to be honest, if Bo Nix doesn't get hurt, this team goes to the Super Bowl. And I know that we could all go and play this game and say ifs and buts, what will happen. The reality is that would you go against this team, even against Seattle in the Super Bowl, and say, would you bet against this team and saying, hey, if this game is close in the fourth quarter, Bo Nix with the football, that this team doesn't find a way how to win? It's just the way that things are set up, right? And so they would have had an opportunity to be able to win the Super Bowl, but a freak injury is the reason why they didn't win it. And so, and yes, a bad call in the first half. Don't get me wrong. 4th and 1, whatever. It is what it is. But you have a coach that is aggressive. You have a coach that put everything together. That's the reason why this team is successful.
Strong words from Justin. What do you think?
Well, let's keep in mind, we're not that far removed from most folks in Broncos country calling for George Paton to be fired. So I think that in and of itself is a pretty good indicator of who probably deserves more credit. Also, Sean Payton was the one banging the drum for Bo Nix more than anybody probably in the league at the time that he was drafted. So I don't know. There really isn't a counter argument to what Justin said. It is Sean Payton. But I would also, if we're going to be giving out credit for the success of what's happening right now, I think a lot of it needs to go to Greg Penner, because at the end of the day, he's the one that sort of brought about the change from a financial standpoint, from giving the go ahead to bring Sean, to trade the assets, to do the things that they needed to do to get an adult in the room. He took over the franchise in a state of disrepair, and that includes bringing in Russell Wilson and giving him that big contract before he ever played it down. He watched that all play out in front of him, and he kind of allowed it to all happen so he'd understand how things worked. Then he applied the business knowledge that he has from running one of the more successful companies in the world, and he applied it to what he saw in front of him, which was an absolute fucking disaster. And I give him a lot of credit for A, not waiting to make the changes that needed to be made, but B, empowering the people that he put in place to move forward. He trusted George Paton, he trusted Sean, and he's now allowed them to do their jobs on either side of the fence and work together and build what they've built. So I'm fine with saying that Sean Payton deserves more credit than George Paton, but I think if I'm making a pie chart of who deserves the most credit, Greg Penner's taking up 50% of that pie.
I like it. Mike, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think we would be remiss if we're talking about Paytons and the Broncos. Happy 50th birthday to the greatest Payton in Broncos history, Peyton Manning, who's frankly done more for this team in the city than both of these guys combined. So let's get that out of the way. But that's not your question, Mario. I get that. I'm here to answer your questions. You're the boss, clearly. You know what? I think George Paton suffers a little bit from his early tenure here. He came in highly touted, as the next great GM, and he had his hits. Let's be honest. PS2, even Javonte Williams, I think, was a hit until he was injured. Of course, he brought in Miners, Benito, Wattenberg. This is all before Sean got here. But then, that you can't erase the Hackett, that whole mess, the Russell Wilson. Although I'll credit George for handling that mess pretty cleanly. Let's chop it off. Let's pay the money. Let's get it out of the way. But the last couple drafts, guys, honestly, they kind of felt like Sean Payton drafts, didn't they? First of all, I think to Nick's point, like that was a ballsy move to take Bo Nix at 12. That's Sean Payton. That's all Sean Payton. Everybody was like, you're an idiot. He's the 6th best quarterback, maybe, in the draft. And he had his guy, and he worked it, and he picked him up. And honestly, Ellis and Vele and that weird Jahdae Barron pick aside, but a lot of these picks feel sort of collaborative between the two. I think they found a nice balance. I credit George, just masterfully getting us out of that mess. I will give him a lot of credit for that. That cap hell, giving up a 1st and a 2nd for Sean, just like going all in on screw it. Let's go get the best and the Penners too. You said it, like blank check, just go make it happen. But all that being said, man, this is Sean Payton's team, clearly. Inheriting that mess, he immediately instilled discipline. And to the other point, like that building immediately changed. Everybody was accountable. Everything changed. There was no more, I don't know if the pool tables and ping pong tables are still there, but I mean, like everybody got to work. Every detail that you can possibly imagine Sean instilled in this team, and the competitiveness, the locker room, and even down to the point where he's putting the damn logos of other teams on the practice field. When they practice, like this is a guy that just took over everything. I think I don't think it's that close, but if I had to point to anything, going from the laughing stock of the NFL, frankly, to averaging 12 wins a season with his young protege Bo Nix, like you said, a play away from the Super Bowl. This one goes to Sean for me, guys.
Justin, I'm going to take this back to you. So as we're discussing kind of like the difference between what each of them offer, are you crediting Sean Payton more with the Bo Nix pick, or do you think that was a more collaborative effort? Because I think we can all agree, like, where this team was, like, yeah, Sean Payton kind of pulled them up by their bootstraps, everything that Mike just talked about. If you don't have a quarterback, a really good quarterback, you're not having the success that this team has had. And of course, Sean Payton is going to get the credit, but we've also been told that George Paton, kind of when Sean came in, George is going to do more of the scouting, maybe a little bit less GM work than he did before, like in the you-know-who era before Sean Payton. How much of this do you think was a collaborative effort, or was this like pretty much 100% Sean Payton's pick in Bo Nix? Because we do know that not only was Sean Payton adamant about Bo Nix, he went out of his way to make sure that everybody knew that he finessed the Vikings into trading up for J.J. McCarthy. So he already put a target on his and Bo Nix's back, whereas like Bo Nix definitely had to be better than J.J. McCarthy, and now there's no doubt.
Yeah, part of that is just the personality of Sean Payton. First of all, it's the look at me, look at what I did, kind of the boastful, the braggadocious side of him. So that's part of that's just Sean Payton. But guys, this is extremely collaborative. Let's not forget what this team did with Russell Wilson's contract. You had when a team literally cut a guy with one of the biggest, or not one of the biggest, the biggest draft, dead cap that you ever had in NFL history. So both guys had to come together and say, okay, we're going to make this move essentially with 2 games left in the season. And so you make the move in the offseason, and then you say, okay, you have to go get a quarterback now. Like, in order for this to work, you have to get your guy. So yes, you have the scouting chops of George Paton, but also on the other side, you have Sean Payton who's saying, this is the quarterback I'm going to work with. And let's not forget this, because the way that the NFL is, when you get your guy at quarterback, you don't get another opportunity. I don't care who you are. You could be Bill Belichick. You could be whoever. It doesn't matter. This is your guy that you're going to work with. And if it doesn't work out, he's out the door and you're also out the door. So it's definitely a collaborative effort to say, hey, this is the guy that we're going to build around. And now what you see with the trade for Waddle and the guys that you also have within the wide receiver grouping, and hopefully some other guys you could pick up at tight end and running back. This is 100% Bo Nix's team. And this is 100% the type of team that Sean Payton is going to be able to work with going forward. So it was definitely a collaborative effort for both guys, because frankly, both guys' job was on the line.
But we need to keep
Nick,
in mind.
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I just think it's important to remember that George Paton's history is scouting. He was basically a scout when he became the GM for the Denver Broncos. And I think part of the disaster that was his early tenure may have been because he wasn't quite ready, or he needed some time to get his feet under him and understand really what the big seat meant. And from that lens, or from that perspective, maybe he's sort of a more endearing figure than we give him credit for, right? Like, we've all gone through stuff in our lives where it took us a minute to get a feel for maybe a new job or a new season in life. And like, George didn't let it get to him. He's still an excellent scout. Mike, you laid out most of his draft success. Like, the guy still knows how to evaluate. He knows ball, as it were. And I think the sort of arc of his career where he wasn't ready, he stepped into the job, he made a mess of things, but he fixed it with the help and support of his superiors, and he got the right partner in Sean Payton, and now things are going well. I don't think he deserves more credit than Sean Payton, but maybe a little more than we're willing to give him.
That's fair. Something I wanted to ask you, Nick, since you had mentioned the Walton Penner group and everything that they did, and basically they were the ones that traded for Sean Payton and made that work. There were rumblings that part of the reason that Sean Payton agreed to hand over play calling duties to Davis Webb is because maybe he was coerced a little bit by the ownership group. And so do you think that diminishes the value of Sean Payton at all, maybe in favor of like the Walton Penner group or maybe even Davis Webb as like a key cog of this team going forward?
No, not even a little bit, because I think he saw the writing on the wall that Webb wasn't going to be here unless he was able to take that next step in his career. Webb had plenty of opportunities to go do what he wanted to do, what he needed to do to continue progressing his life, his career, to do what Justin does, to keep putting food on the table and making his wife making him delicious meatloafs. So if Sean was coerced by the Penners, it was in the sense that he watched how Greg runs a business, which is, I take care of the stuff up here, I hire the people down here to put it into place. And he's seen how effective that can be up close and personal. And Sean, in his aged wisdom, he's even hinted at this at times in press conferences, that he's learned quite a bit. You know, he's not the same guy he was 15 years ago. He understands that, like, he doesn't have his fastball constantly in the middle of games. He knows that if he maybe takes that off of his plate and gives it to someone who he has said over and over again is extremely talented, that it maybe benefits the entire group and it takes a little bit off his mind. So I don't think this was a situation where Greg Penner came into his office and said, hey, like, this is the direction we need to go. I think there are deeper things here.
Yeah, I want to chime in here too. Excuse me. I'm sorry, but
go ahead.
there's nobody can sell me on that. I'm sorry. Sean said it himself. Sean and I are the same age. He's like 6 months older than me. You have all these experiences, and you made all these mistakes, like we've alluded to. Like, you know, you can't make the meatloaf, but you learn how to make it, and then you're worried about how you make the meatloaf. I mean, you gained 20 pounds, 30 pounds when you get it right.
I did, yeah. We try to get that GLP shot going.
Oh, you're good. Good. But Sean Payton, he said it himself. It's true. Like, as you get older, you get more conservative, and I don't mean politically. I just mean, you start thinking about what's going to go wrong instead of what you're going to go right. You know, what's going to go right, and he found himself like trigger shy. Like, man, if I do this though, when he used to be so aggressive, the onside kick in the middle of the Super Bowl, man, come on, like that was Sean Payton. I mean, he's changed. And I think he saw that in himself, and he said that out loud. I think this move came from Sean. I think he wants to win. The play calls coming in with 11 seconds on the play clock, man, that says something. There was a lot of frustration there, but I think that was in-house. I don't think the Penners had put any pressure to tell Sean Payton how to run his football team. Like, I just don't see it. I don't buy it. I think it was perfectly a natural transition to go that way.
Now, we can all say that the Penners didn't disagree. I don't think they didn't pull back and say, hey, are you sure about this?
We don't know that.
Well,
we don't know that.
That's true, but at least it
not
seems
publicly.
That way. Not publicly.
It's certainly not publicly.
I would say this. We're all athletes in one way or the other. And we all know this, is that if you're able to play fast and not think, then you're able to be more successful. Bo Nix so many times last year got up to the line and just had to go with whatever play it was. Couldn't even look at the safeties. Couldn't really analyze what the defensive front was. He just had to go with it. And a lot of times he made things work or had to ad-lib as the play went on, or just had to hand off the ball, right? I mean, like, he just had to go with what's there. But now you get the opportunity to say, okay, plays in. Now let's go forward. This is what I'm looking for, right? And also, let's not forget, too, and maybe it's just I'm in a different phase in life as well, mentoring younger athletes. This is an opportunity for Sean Payton to mentor Davis Webb, too. Like to be able to have that other side where you get to oversee and say, hey, look at this, right? So now he gets to have, again, his fingerprint on his coaching career too. So I think this is great all the way around. We saw the same thing with Mike Shanahan and what he did with Gary Kubiak. And I think this could be the same type of marriage that we can see this year with the Broncos.
I think that would be best case scenario, especially if it means that Davis Webb maybe is the coach in waiting, and whenever Sean Payton decides to hang it up and go back to the media so he can hang out with Kay Adams as much as he wants, that maybe he'll just pass the torch on to Davis Webb full time. That would be ideal, because it would suck to see him, mentor Davis Webb and kind of turn Davis Webb into this genius head coach, and then we lose him to another team. But again, like maybe that's why Sean did agree to relinquish play calling duties, because like you said, Davis Webb wasn't going to stick around. He wasn't just going to be a quarterback coach for much longer. He was already getting head coaching interviews, and there was a reason for that. It's like, would he have gotten hired? Probably not during this cycle. But the fact that in his position at his age that he was getting looks and getting interviews for a head coach, it means that everybody around the league is well aware of what Davis Webb brings. And I think he deserves a lot of the credit for Bo Nix's progression throughout his career. I mean, earlier on in his career, like obviously he's going to have his rookie woes, but man, he had a fantastic rookie year. He would have been in the running for offensive rookie of the year had Jaden Daniels not gone crazy, had Brock Bowers not gone crazy. And then he took that next step. He kind of avoided the sophomore slump. And as much credit as I think we can and should give Sean Payton, we need to give equal credit to Davis Webb, as it were, because I mean, he's been with him from the beginning, and Bo Nix has said publicly several times like how much Davis Webb has meant to him. So yeah, I think it was an inevitability, and hopefully Davis Webb doesn't depart for I guess it wouldn't be greener pastures compared to this team; it would be browner pastures. But that's going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. Of like, at what point is he going to be? Is it going to be too difficult to keep Davis Webb? Like, what if the Broncos' offense explodes this year? Which, with the addition of Waddle, all things kind of point to that direction. Certainly, they're going to be better than next year. How many head coaching gigs and like opportunities is Davis Webb going to have? So while I love to see that he's mentoring, hopefully he's not just sharpening the tool that's eventually going to stab us in the back elsewhere.
In the parlance of Bill Parcells, though, let's not put him in the Hall of Fame quite yet. I mean, the guy called one preseason game. We don't know what we've got. And two, Sean Payton said it himself. He wants to coach another 7 years. That's a long time for Davis Webb to sit on the sideline. I mean, he could do a Kubiak and go do his thing and then come home to Denver, where the Penners can offer to pay him $10 gazillion. But I don't see him as the coach in waiting.
I mean, look, so long as the offense is as good as it was last year, Davis Webb will not be your offensive coordinator next year. He's going to get head coaching more interest than he had this year. And my guess is he walks. So, I mean, maybe for you, Mario, best case scenario is win the Super Bowl, Sean Payton right off into the sunset, and Davis Webb take over, because that's the only way I see that working.
That
in
would
the
work.
way that you described it.
That would work.
Sean Payton's not going to let that money go.
If that happens.
No, he's going to go for two. He's going to go for two in a row.
He is, but he's not going to let that money go. I think the best case scenario for all Bronco fans is both coordinators leave after this year. Vance Joseph, Davis Webb both leave, and they both get head coaching roles.
We could do a whole show on that, bro.
Oh man, I know.
And why is that, Justin? Go ahead and dig into that, Justin.
I mean, that's the way that things go now, right? The NFL, where the coordinators generally on a Super Bowl winning team, they leave. We saw what happened with Seattle this past year, and they go, right? And so that's the same thing that you want. And the only reason why that, for the Eagles, that they didn't have their defensive coordinator leave, because Vic Fangio is a better defensive coordinator, and we saw how he was as a head coach. So that's the hope. The hope is that your coordinators leave, and they will leave after you win the Super Bowl. It is your job, doing your due diligence, to be able to have or hire somebody else who could be able to fill in those gaps. It is what it is in the NFL. So you have Bo Nix at this rookie contract. Hopefully you could be able to get the most out of him. And then as guys move on, you could be able to get that next coach in line that could be able to go and keep things moving and keep them playing well as well at a high level.
Something I will say about George Paton here that I've been kind of mulling over is, obviously we all remember the start to his GM career in Denver. It was a disaster. I'm just going to go ahead and say the name. Hired Nathaniel Hackett, and depending on who you believe, and if you believe certain sources, it was because they got decent information that if they hire Hackett, then Aaron Rodgers is coming. And the team was starved for a quarterback, right? So you hire Nathaniel Hackett. Green Bay decides they want to hang on to Aaron Rodgers for another year. So now you have to pivot and go after what a lot of people thought was the next best thing in Russell Wilson. We know how that went down. But at the time, like, if we all go back, I remember I was in my office. I got the alert that we traded for Russell Wilson. Part of me was devastated because part of that trade was Shelby Harris, who was a good friend of mine, and it was a bummer to see him go. But I was like, man, after 8 or 9 years or however long it had been in the desert of getting, your Paxton Lynches and your plug and play quarterbacks. They brought Brock Osweiler back, and we were told Case Keenum was good. We were told Joe Flacco was still elite, which maybe he is. I think Joe Flacco's been good everywhere except Denver, but I digress. That's another discussion. The move to get Russell Wilson, like, that was absolutely the right thing to do at the time. And maybe if the situation was different, like, I don't want to give Russell Wilson too much credit because it ended up being an abject disaster, and thankfully we are where we are now. But the marriage of Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson clearly did not work, but that clearly wasn't their plan from the word go. It seemed like they jumped the gun with Hackett because they desperately wanted to get into this Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. Again, it didn't happen, and you found yourself in this really bad situation. And so even though George Paton rightfully fucked up a lot of stuff early on, like really, really bad, everything kind of went like on a course correct. And everything that he has done since, to me, he's kind of redeemed himself and then some. And so, Justin, I'll get your thoughts on that, and then I know you're up against it, so I'll let you get one more blurb in, and then I'll let you get some sleep.
Yeah, let's not forget that. Let's just call it what it is. The Broncos were trying to cheat in many respects, like short circuit this whole thing, right? Like they were trying to go and say, okay, rather than going and building through the draft and getting a quarterback at first, let's go and get Aaron Rodgers. Okay, that didn't work. Let's get Russell Wilson. And then when that didn't work, what did they have to do? Oh, let's go and make sure that we actually get the quarterback. And that's how you truly restart everything. Unfortunately, you have to have with that, large dead cap number, but now you don't have to worry about that anymore. So it just shows that for some, yes, you try to go and get that. And I don't know the last time that a trade like that has actually worked that well. But when you do get your first round quarterback, and when you do have a head coach that believes in him, that's the main thing. When you have a head coach who believes in your guy and say, this is the guy that we're going to build around, that your team will succeed. And if that doesn't work out, then you're just the Minnesota Vikings and you're hoping that Kyler Murray will be your guy. So
Justin, thank you so much for joining me tonight, man. I appreciate you as always. Hopefully I get to see you in person again here very soon. Have a wonderful night. Justin Adams, CBS 4. Check him out. The man, the myth, the legend. God bless, Justin. Love you, brother.
Hey, love you too, Mario. Hey, Nick, take care of my brother. Hey, Mike, come on, man. We gonna talk, right? I followed you. I followed you now.
You follow me. I followed you, man. I'll be in touch. You're on the show.
All right.
All right. See you, Justin.
I'm blessed.
So, Nick, getting back to kind of that discussion, in your eyes, do you think that George Paton has done enough after, the Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson debacle to, let me just pose it this way. Is he deserving of an extension right now? Because I think that's a discussion that the front office, that ownership is going to have. Do they want to extend and retain George Paton, or do you maybe put in some calls and bring in someone else?
I think anytime you're looking at making a move for any position on the team to get rid of somebody or trade somebody, the question you need to ask yourself is there a person out there that I'm looking to upgrade specifically with, or is it just the idea of someone who may be better at that spot? If you're looking for an idea rather than a specific person or commodity, then there's just, we've seen too many times in the NFL how consistency in your leadership generally breeds success. So I'm a big proponent of not changing things, especially at the top of the organization, if those people work well together and you're not specifically looking for someone, or there's not a specific target you have to bring in. I think George has proven to have learned how to do this job. He's proven to meld his ability to scout with the ability to manage. And he's shown that despite the disaster of the beginning of his tenure here, that him and Sean Payton work really well together. And I think that what you mentioned, Mario, about the way that all went down with the way that the Broncos acquired Russell Wilson, you can almost say this for any part of your life, any decision made that because something went wrong and then you have to make a quick decision to pivot from that, those things generally don't go well. And you're playing with, hundreds of millions of dollars and very valuable assets in draft picks here. And it's almost like not surprising that it tanked, because the thing that you wanted, the thing that you had planned for didn't come through. And then you had to just go with the next best thing that you thought, or that came across your desk. I guarantee you I guarantee you George Paton didn't have enough time to look at the last, whatever, half of the season that Russell played in Seattle. He probably would have told you from a scout's perspective that he was cooked. But he didn't have time because they had to make a move. They had to get off Aaron and find who their quarterback was going to be. So that's a long-winded way of saying that I would extend George. I would keep this nucleus that they've built together for as long as possible.
In terms of just like pure chaos and like kind of comedic timing, it would be hilarious if after this free agency, when they retained literally everybody because they like the room, we like the room. Oh, we're not going to change the room. We like the room. If George Paton was like the one guy that they didn't extend and keep in house,
right?
Purely
The
from
guy
a
who made the
comical
room.
standpoint. Yeah, the guy that made the room, who kept saying we like the room and retained everyone, and they're like, yeah, that was a little bit too much. Like we reached our quota on retention, George. So we're going to go in a different direction. Mike, do you think that George has done enough since the Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett days to kind of let's say be in a top 10 discussion of GMs in the league?
Well, look, man, I don't even know who all the GMs in the league are, so I can't do that. But here's what I'd say about the Broncos GM. I think he has earned it. And, to Nick's point, the cohesion, the way that he and Sean appear to be working together is super important to me in this team. And then, I mean, look at the roster. Like, I know there were moves to be made, but we brought back 21 of 22 starters. And when you look at the depth chart, how many starting positions are actually available out there that, there's a piece that could replace one of these guys? One, maybe two on the whole team. So even through all this mess, or whatever we want to call it, this is a great roster. This is one of the best rosters, most solid rosters in the NFL for sure. The Waddle thing might put us over the top. The $28 million we'll have in June might be another piece that puts us all the way over the top. So no, as long as Sean's there, I think George has a place there in my book. And again, like, who's better? Who are you going after? If it's not somebody from New Orleans that's just a pal, I don't see him going after anybody. I think George has earned it. No, he's not perfect, but yeah, you keep him here. You keep the band together, and you just keep rolling with it. Look, AFC Championship game. Come on, what are we talking about here? Extend him.
As long as we're going to finesse the Saints, can we offer them maybe like a Jonah Ellis or a Riley Moss for a first-round pick? And I know it sounds crazy, but so does Vele for a fourth. Can we just like make a call and see?
It could happen.
Just be like, we'll give you Riley Moss for Chris Olave and your third-round pick straight up.
How about Jahdae Barron instead and keep Moss?
Who says no?
I do.
Yeah, who said yeah?
I do. I want Moss. I want to keep Moss.
Up.
You can send our first-round pick from last year down there and maybe get a second for him. Jahdae Barron, he's just riding the bench. 5 plays a game.
I'm glad you brought up. I'm glad you brought up Jahdae Barron. So we're going to transition this. I think we've pretty much tapped the keg when it comes to like the Peyton and Peyton. It's very obvious. Like, here's the thing: if you're watching, the title of this episode was to draw people in, because people have a visceral reaction one way or another. Like, this is very polarizing, and the reality of it is the success is from both of them. And so people have said it in the chat, and you're absolutely right. It's like, does Sean Payton have the success that he has without George Paton constructing this specific team? Probably not. Does George Paton have the success constructing this team without a captain of the ship like Sean Payton? No, probably not. And for all the misses that George Paton has had, it's like he's the guy that drafted Pat Surtain when everybody else in Denver wanted them to take Mac Jones or Justin Fields, who's now on his fourth team, and I think Mac Jones is on his fourth team. He went out of his way to draft Quinn Miners, who is on his second contract and arguably the best guard in the league. And he took Nick Bonito the year that they didn't have a first-round draft pick because of the Russell Wilson trade. That ended up being a massive hit. You took a guy in Jonathan Cooper, 7th-round pick, who fell way down the boards. He's on his second contract, and he's done a phenomenal job on the other side of Nick Bonito. He helped orchestrate the trade for Zach Allen, who has been maybe the unsung hero, like one of the most important parts of this defense. When they were bargain bin shopping last year, they brought in a Brandon Jones who has been fantastic. They brought in a Talanoa Hufanga. And to me, like, these are George Paton moves. And so, like, in my specific opinion, like, yeah, obviously he was very close to getting fired. And I think had he gotten fired, not a lot of people would have complained about it. But very seldom do you see like a franchise do a complete 180 after making such a mess of things. It's kind of like how my toddler is, how my 4-year-old is. He'll make a complete and total mess of my house. Toys are covering the floor. And before he goes to bed, he has to clean everything up. And then he feels really proud. He's like, I just cleaned up this mess. Didn't I do a good job? And so, of course, I'm a good dad. I'm going to be like, yeah, buddy, I'm so proud of you. You did so great. But deep down, I'm like, bro, you made the mess. Like, yeah, good job cleaning it. But if you didn't make the mess in the first place, you wouldn't have to clean it up. So thankfully, he was able to clean up his own mess, and he's trending in the right direction. But that leads us to Jahdae Barron. Okay.
Well, hold on. So, before we move off this topic, and because we've just one last thing, we've thrown George Paton's flaws in front of the people for this basically the last 40 minutes, and he deserves it because he's made some mistakes. Sean Payton ain't exactly infallible. He's calling a quarterback sweep in overtime.
Oh my God! This show's going 2 hours now. You just did it. Nick, look, you just did it. The show's going 2 hours now. You realize that,
Sean
right?
Payton deserves the credit, but he's also a jackass.
He is.
He's an actual jackass. So it's
cute.
He's not Jesus out there coaching the football team. He deserves some blame too.
He is. He gets too cute. He's too stubborn. All that. But yet
he's
again,
such a dick to Luka Evans. What did Luka Evans ever do to Sean Payton?
What did A.T. Perry do to him?
What do you say to, like, what do you know about coming downhill? It's like, Sean, seriously? Luka is 120 pounds. Like, he clearly doesn't know.
15 years old. Are you going to ask me about kid alone? He's a minor, for crying out loud. Leave that kid alone.
Okay, we can move on now. I just didn't want Sean Payton to skate.
You just wanted to vent a little bit. It's okay.
That's fine because you lit the match, and so we're gonna set this drum on fire. Okay, I have been. Hold on, we need to make another here because now I'm getting all fired up again. Okay,
there we go.
Pit Vipers are coming back on. I was adamant, and like during the season when I'm doing the show with Patrick Chiodo, we hammered Sean throughout the year. Now we gave him credit where credit was due, and there were a lot of instances where people had a problem with the play calling and things like that. And it turns out like Pat breaks down the X's and O's. He's an offensive coordinator at the high school level. It wasn't necessarily the play calling. It was the situations in which he called the plays. It was the fact that, like was mentioned earlier, he's getting plays in with 11 seconds left on the play clock. Ask yourself, and this is not rocket science. Like, this is very straightforward analytical thinking. Why was Bo Nix and why was this offense so good at the end of the half? Why were they so good at the end of games? It felt like they scored at least a field goal, most of the times a touchdown, during the 2-minute drive right before halftime. And we all know, like, in the fourth quarter, Bo Nix got it done. So what changed? How did you go from an offense that was leading the league in punts more than halfway through the season to, you're firing on all cylinders with 2 minutes left in the half and in the game? It's because all of a sudden Sean Payton isn't able to overthink things. You have to go with tempo, and you're actually letting Bo Nix be Bo Nix. Justin had mentioned it earlier. Like, you're giving him time to go to the line, to read the defense, to call out the protection, to call an audible, to do all of the things that you literally drafted Bo Nix to do. This was the reason that they liked Bo Nix so much. It wasn't necessarily his talent. It wasn't the fact that he's a plus runner. It was the fact that they thought he had the best brain by far out of every single quarterback in that class. And when you give him an opportunity to actually run an offense and call the shots, that's when Bo Nix was at his best. So, yeah, you're 100% right, Nick. Sean Payton deserves as much criticism as George Paton does. And I don't care what anybody says, I find it really hard to believe that Bo Nix himself had nothing to do with play calling switching over to Davis Webb. Because when you have a franchise quarterback like Bo Nix, who will hopefully be your quarterback for the next decade, who will hopefully outlast Sean Payton, who will hopefully outlast Davis Webb, who might even outlast George Paton, you do not do anything, especially on the offensive side of the ball, especially something as important as calling plays without getting his say-so. So I find it hard to believe that Bo Nix had nothing to do with the decision that Davis Webb will be calling plays. Now, to clarify, Sean Payton he'll be putting together the menu. Since we're on the food kick, Sean Payton has all the ingredients. He's putting together the menu. That's the game plan during the week. And then he's giving it to his head chef, Davis Webb, on Sundays or Thursdays or Saturdays or Fridays or Mondays. I guess it's pretty much could be any day of the week now. But any day of the week that they are playing, that's when Davis Webb, that's when it's his time to shine. So, again, this kind of thing does not happen. This seismic change does not happen. Of like a Sean Payton, who was a legendary current head coach in the NFL, to just give up play calling on his own volition. So with that, I have no further criticisms of Sean Payton.
That was a rant. We call that a rant.
But there are clearly plenty to go around. Okay, so we're done with those.
Oh, now you're taking the glasses off? I was all fired up.
Well, I was protecting my eyes.
Now I gotta chill out again. Now we gotta.
Clearly, you're right, Mario.
You gotta get professional.
You're absolutely right. Clearly, there's no. I mean, that exactly what you said. At the end of the game, if you look back at the season, and we, I have, every time Bo Nix had an opportunity to go in and win a game, he did it, or he put us in position to do it. The only time he didn't really have a chance was the Jaguars game. So, Richie Rich, get out of here with that mess. But
okay, first of all, Hawaiian shirt dude is Nick Rothschild. Recognize. Put some respect on his name.
Pit Vipers aren't aviators anyway. So no one was wearing aviators.
Not a single person.
They went. They had their bye week. Everything changed after the bye week. Those discussions, I believe you're right, took place. There was frustration clearly between Bo and Sean during the season. You saw it in the games. You heard it from people inside the building. But it was, father, son, coach, quarterback stuff. Nothing toxic, but there was certainly, valid arguments to. Especially the way you point out, like the up tempo, like playing right into his hands. Like, why aren't we doing that? It just goes right back to Sean being too conservative, second guessing. And he didn't have that luxury when, we need 10 points or 28 points in the fourth quarter. Like, you just got to let Bo do what he does. And guess what we found out? He's really, really good at it. And
we found out that Bo Nix is capable of putting up 100 points in a football game.
Clearly, statistically, he could average 100 points a game.
It's just math.
Davis Webb probably will. It's just math. Yeah, probably.
Math is for nerds. All right, segues are weird, so we're just going to get right into it. Mike, we know how you feel about the Jahdae Barron pick, and I will give you your opportunity to talk a little bit more about him. But Nick, I'm going to go to you first.
Of course,
obviously, it was a little.
He's a TV star. I'm just little YouTube show.
You're just.
That's a throwing in Denver, but whatever.
Obviously, Nick, it was a bizarre pick at the time, and I think because at the time it's like Omari and Hampton is sitting right there. There was also a report that they were going to trade back with the Giants, potentially take Travion Henderson, and then I think Mason Taylor is what it was reported is who they were going to kind of double up with. But because they had such a high rating of Jahdae Barron and considered him a blue chip prospect, didn't think that he would be there at the time that they drafted. They went ahead and took him. What are your thoughts on Jahdae Barron? Was he kind of just a victim of circumstance where Jaquan McMillian had a career year, Riley Moss, kind of stepped up to the next level, and there just wasn't room for him? Like, can he have a bright future, or are you starting to doubt the premise of that pick a little bit?
Yeah, I just in general don't like to do draft evaluation this early as far as their, a player's ability to be what they were drafted to be right away. A lot of times we see guys come in and make major impacts that were drafted in late rounds because of circumstance, and that's great. And sometimes, it takes guys a couple years to really get their feet under them and figure out how the league works. And I think that also is fine. Devontae Adams was a high second round pick, and a lot of folks in Green Bay thought he should be punted after 3 years because he couldn't catch the football. We've seen now he's one of the best receivers to ever play the game. So I think Jahdae Barron is still an excellent defensive back. I think the idea of drafting a guy who you evaluated and you had a grade so highly on at a position in the NFL that right now is probably the premier position of you can't have enough of them. Defensive back, especially with the amount of nickel that the Broncos like to play, is so important. It's so important to have depth at that spot. And I thought Jahdae Barron was going to play more star linebacker this year than he did. And I thought he was going to be in the mix and dime packages more than he was. So that part, I don't know if it was like a physicality thing that like he didn't quite translate to playing in the box quite quickly enough. That's stuff that only the coaches will really know. But I do think that there's no reason to give up on him right now. And there's no reason to think he can't develop into being a elite level defensive back, whether that's a slot corner. We didn't really see him too much outside, but I still think he has the ability to do that. And I'm not willing to just say carte blanche. He's effed up and he's not worthy of a first round pick and he's not going to be a good player.
Sure. Mike, I'm going to go ahead and pose this question to you. KW, thanks for watching. You're always so volatile in the chat, and I honestly love it. Last year's draft was an absolute disaster and is the reason we are still chasing needs this offseason that could have been fixed in the draft. Now, obviously, I will, defer again to what Nick just said. It's like, it's really hard to evaluate after just 1 year. So KW, give it time before you start to burn it all down. But Mike, how do you respond to a comment like this?
Well, first of all, I'm familiar with 82 KW 82, and I'd certainly appreciate him. I thought the Jahdae Barron pick was a panic pick. I think that was they were not prepared for the players that went off the board. I mean, how good would Amarian Hampton have looked in the AFC Championship?
Oh, he would have been so good on the bench for most of the year. Yeah, with the injury, he would have been. He would have been. J.K. Dobbins could have been in rehab room.
He would have been a Bronco. You know what? He would not have been injured because he would have been a Bronco, and we would have won the AFC Championship.
Yeah, only J.K. Dobbins gets hurt in that backfield.
That's right. Criminal not to have a replacement for him. But as far as the draft goes, and I agree with Nick. Certainly, this really doesn't have anything to do with Jahdae Barron himself. Like I think could be a great player, and I'm sure he will be at some point, or I hope he will be at some point. It was just the process that we have him, and we had a lot of really big needs, like criminally not having a proper backup for J.K. Dobbins with that injury history is mind-boggling to me. We had a bunch of hobbits behind him. We had nobody with any size. But R.J. Harvey, Bryant, Savion Jones, Q Robinson, and Crawshaw, one of the better picks of that draft. Hard to call that draft a disaster for me, and way too early, 82 at this point. But yeah, the Jahdae Barron thing, it sucks when your first round pick still, kind of riding the bench, and people are already talking about, well, let's move him to safety, or let's move him here, or let's move him there. You're trying to find a spot to get him on the field. I don't know. It's spilled milk.
I will tell you this, Mike, as far as moving him to safety or whatever, the thing with this group, Sean Payton, back to the George Paton conversation, they have a vision for what he is in this defense, whether that got messed up because he wasn't as much star linebacker as I thought he would be, or whether that wasn't their vision for him, I do not know. But I can tell you this, they're not going to deviate from that vision a year in. If he ends up at safety this year, I would say that is a likely indication of a panic move, or that something has gone really wrong with the way that they planned his progression with their
I think if your first round pick isn't starting in year 2, you probably screwed up. That's just
So Nick, what do you think is the vision for him then? Like, what is the ideal situation for Jahdae Barron in the 2026 season?
Well, I think the vision, this is going to sound funny. I think the vision for him was to step in for Jaquan McMillan when he made a bunch of cash and went somewhere else. And because the way McMillan played, the way Jahdae didn't play, and the financials that they managed to keep him here, we're now stuck with the same situation we had last year. I think you're gonna have to put the onus on the player. You're gonna have to say, look, if you want to play, if you want to get into the lineup, you're going to have to take a job from somebody. And to Mike's point, if he can't do that, silence is deafening. Like if he can't take that next step and earn more playing time of what they're asking him to do, then maybe the vision was incorrect and the evaluation was incorrect.
We'll leave you guys with this, and then we'll get you out of here since we're coming right up on an hour. Just tell me, as it stands today on March 24th, 2026, we're about a month out from the draft. What is the Denver Broncos' biggest need currently, and how will they address it, and how? Mike, we'll start with you.
I think as we sit here right now, it's mostly just depth pieces, but we need a running back behind JK. We're still in the same place that we were before. JK is going to be a great running back if he stays healthy, but the past history with that is sketchy at best. The good news is, I think with JK, is it's always a different injury. So kind of different injuries, but he was fantastic when he was on the field last year. But to go into this season without a proper sized go get me 2 yards on 3rd and 2 back, I think would be criminal. So I think that's one of their biggest needs. The JFM loss, I think they'll have to do something there, which I think they will. Some of this depends on what Davis Webb wants to do. If Waddle opens up the offense like I think it will, then I think Ingram's going to play a lot better this year. But I think maybe even though we signed Troutman to 3 years, I think tight end would be on my list as well. In the draft, though, I would shoot for like an inside linebacker to develop now behind the 2 guys we've got.
What do you think, Nick?
Well, to me, it's tiers. So like biggest need as far as like biggest opportunity for a guy they bring in to get playing time for me is running back and inside linebacker. But I think part of what makes their defense so good, or had made their defense so good, is the depth on the defensive line, the ability to rotate guys throughout the game and keep guys fresh and sort of pick matchups you like and play chess on that front seven. And losing JFM really, really hurts. And I don't think you can actually replace him with one guy. I think you're going to need – I mean, India Wazirike showed spurts last year, which is great. But I think you're going to need 2 or 3 more to rotate and to keep the level of the defense continuing to play at where you want to play. So I actually think, as far as, okay, can we attain replacement level at these positions? Defensive line, I think they can do it, whether it's signing depth pieces or in the draft. I don't know if there's any inside linebackers or running backs that they could sign or draft that I would think immediately, okay, we're fixed, we're ready to go. I think they need to do something and hope that things work out. But I think the thing, if they put effort into bringing pieces in on the defensive line, I think they can make that work and fix that. The other 2, I'm not sure.
Sounds good. Final thoughts, and then we will wrap it up. Mike, any final sentiments that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I think when you get into these debates about who's the best or who gets the most credit and stuff, I hate the fact that people feel like someone's being attacked. Like we were given 2 choices, we had to pick one. Mario's not going to let us out of here with a tie. So it's not. I went ahead and said, I think George should be, re-signed or extended. These players are on a really good football team, and the Broncos and Broncos country should be super happy with where we are. I still think we're the best team in the AFC as we sit here today, and probably the top, in the top 3 of all the NFL. So it's a great place to be in. Free agency is going to bring some players. Again, the $28 million we'll have. Could be another trade, or we could spend some money. So, we'll revisit right before the season. But for right now, I think we sit really, really well. And shout out to for having us on. Yeah, appreciate it. Letting me meet these two great guys. The one that doesn't follow me and the one that does.
I do follow you now, by the way, and I just totally jumped in and knocked you over as you were giving us such a nice compliment. But all I wanted to do was
he deserves it. It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, I totally do. Yeah.
All I wanted to do was echo that sentiment. I mean, look, this organization kicks ass. You've got one of the top tier head coaches. You've got a great GM. You've got, like Mike said, one of the best rosters in football. This discussion we just had 5 years ago would have been bleak, man. The direction this franchise is going in is amazing. The people that they've brought in to run the organization and run the football team are amazing. So this show is amazing. It's just we get to talk about this stuff and be nitpicky because they're in such a great spot, which is cool.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for hopping on Cover 4. And I realized about halfway through this that I have a graphic for Cover 4. Completely forgot to do it, so I'm just going to do it right now.
It's Cover 4.
That graphic is obviously brought to you by Render Forest. Render Forest, they don't pay me, and I'm not going to pay them either. Figured, better late than never, and that's not my best graphic anyway, so we're just going to shoehorn that in. Shout out to Justin Adams for joining us earlier in the show, Mike Carmellini, Nick Rothschild. Thank you all so much for watching Altitude Adjustment. I have been Mario Batanzi, and maybe I'll see you next week. Haven't really decided if I want to do a show yet because there's nothing else really to talk about, and I'm not going to force feed you terrible content like so many other shows. Okay, we'll see you later. Love y'all. Bye-bye.
Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's stick up.